Hello my friends, and today analysts are summing up the results of the past week. And as a result, we see that Ukraine has lost 28 square kilometers, and that's just in 1 week. Unfortunately, the lack of support seriously affects the situation on the front line. But today, finally, the activity of the occupiers along the front line has slightly decreased. And let's start with the Kupiansk direction. Here, the occupiers continue minimal shelling activity and are not conducting new attacks. Troop regrouping and mobilization of new reserves are ongoing. And analysts also report that the advance towards Kupiansk has been halted because their reconnaissance and sabotage corps conducted offensive actions on Russian territory. And it was necessary to withdraw some reserves from the Kupiansk direction to defend the Belgorod region. However, it's reported that there are still up to 5 motorized rifle regiments and a large number of tanks in the Kupiansk direction as before. Therefore, the possibility of activation still remains. In the Svatovo area, as before, there is minimal shelling. In the Crimea direction, the occupiers also continue shelling, but no new offensive actions are reported, and the situation along the front line remains unchanged. In the Siversk direction, the occupiers are attacking Bilohorivka and Verkhnyo-Kamenske. Finally, attacks near Spirne and Rozdorivka have ceased, and the front line remains unchanged over the day. In the Chasiv Yar direction, the occupiers have slightly reduced their activity, so attacks are recorded on the Novy microdistrict and on Chasiv Yar itself from the south. Attacks on Klishchiivka also continue, but despite the very challenging situation, the Ukrainian forces continue to hold the defense, and there have been no changes along the front line in the past day. So the Ukrainian forces also refute all claims by the Russians about the capture of Ivanivske.
Ivanivske was not completely captured, no fire is being seen. At this time, positions change from hand to hand, every minute everything changes. The position ticks are still under control, unfortunately there are 200 of our brothers.
As evident, the struggle for every position continues, despite all the advantages of the Russians. So today, there are also reports of offensive actions on the settlement of New York. However, it seems that there was only the one trial attack, and the Russians achieved no success there. In the Avdiivka direction, the occupiers conducted 6 attacks in the areas of Novobakhmutivka, Novokalinove, Pervomaiske, and Netailove. Shelling continues both along the front line and in the rear, but there have been no new advancements in the past day. In the direction of Mariinka, the occupiers have resumed attacks on Krasnohorivka, and fighting continues for Novomikhailivka. Despite the challenging situation in the village, the Ukrainian forces, as before, stand their ground, albeit under constant fire and attacks from the Russians. So the front line remains unchanged here over the past day. In the Vuhledar direction, the occupiers are attempting, as before, to storm Staromayorsk. 2 attacks were conducted in the past day, both of which were unsuccessful, and the life of confrontation remains unchanged. Shelling continues as usual. In the Zaporizhia direction, the occupiers conducted 2 attacks on Robotine, and shelling continues in all nearby settlements. However, the Ukrainian forces are using FPV drones to try to intercept the occupiers during their movement towards the village. Therefore, the situation remains under control, although it's far from easy. So the Ukrainian forces are constantly under artillery and mortar fire. Additionally, the General Staff has made a statement regarding a provocation at the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant.
According to available intelligence data, Russian terrorists are preparing to carry out another provocation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, another operation under a false flag. Russia is the only terrorist in the world that holds a nuclear power plant hostage and uses it to blackmail Ukraine and the whole world. No one else, except Russian terrorists, has brought the world so close to the brink of a deliberate radiation disaster.
In the Kherson direction, the occupiers conducted one attack on the village of Krinky, and shelling continues along the front line. Russian war correspondents are already reporting that the attacks are carried out merely for the sake of reporting them, as the losses are overwhelming and no one wants to die anymore.
According to the situation as of the evening of April 14, 24 in the area of responsibility of the Dnepr, there are no changes in the Kherson direction. Today, our forces from groups from 328 airborne infantry regiments continue to clean up the settlement. Krinky. The attacks were, as they say, for show, for the sake of the report. In the Zaporizhzhia direction. Today our settlement's Rabotino was not stormed. Otherwise, everything is unchanged in the Dnepr. Preparations are underway for future action.
Also, Zelensky commented on the latest shelling of Ukrainian territory.
Those who have lost their loved ones. Russia uses every day, week, and month to inflict significant damage. Unfortunately, assistance to Ukraine is still limited, and the Russian state still has access to critical components needed to produce missiles and drones. Each missile targeting Ukraine contains at least dozens of components, electronics, chips, supplied by companies from other countries and imported through the territory of Russia's neighbors. The Shah drones also contain components produced in the free world. All of this must and can be stopped. The connivance at terror, the ability of terrorists to seek accomplices around the world, and all forms of Russian terror itself. Modern aviation proves its effectiveness. Modern air defense systems are capable of protecting lives. This was demonstrated in the Middle East, when aviation and air defense shot down Iranian missiles and Shade drones aimed at Israel.
As it seems, Russia manages to circumvent sanctions, while Ukraine not only fails to increase support for victory, but on the contrary, it decreases. Meanwhile, former Trump National Security Advisor Bolton has urged Israel to strike Iran's nuclear facilities.
Almost certainly at this point, none of those missiles contained a nuclear warhead. But you never can tell when the next firing, the next salvo of ballistic missiles might contain a nuclear warhead. So I think among the many targets Israel should consider, this is the opportunity to destroy Iran's nuclear weapons program. And I hope President Biden is not trying to dissuade Prime Minister Netanyahu from doing that. And if he succeeds, and if at some future point the Ayatollahs are able to pull off what former Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon called a nuclear holocaust, history will know who to blame.
In the meantime, Olaf Scholz has arrived in China for a meeting with their leader.
Scholz arrived in China for a 3-day visit to meet with Xi Jinping. This is Scholz's second visit to China as Chancellor and the first visit to China by a high-ranking politician from a major Western power this year. A business delegation including heads of a number of international corporations, such as Siemens, BMW and Mercedes-Benz, also arrived. Xi Jinping, as well as Prime Minister Li Qiang, will meet with Scholz to discuss Sino-German ties and issues of mutual interest, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said.
What could be their connections if China supports Russia in everything, helps them wage war, and Scholz comes to them as if to France? So today, Russians even buy Chinese motorcycles to retreat from positions more quickly.
The guys are working in an open area. After hunting the enemy, there is only a couple of minutes to leave the place. The enemy sends swarms of drones in response. It is very difficult for fully equipped fighters to quickly leave a position across the sands. The last time could be the last for the reconnaissance group. The guys buy at their own expense all the stuff for the targeted destruction of the enemy in saving their lives. You need an enduro motorcycle for survival, a set of off-road tires for a loaf and components for FPV drones. P.S. If anyone has the desire and opportunity to buy or donate their enduro, then we will help with this procedure. We'll take it, hand it over personally and report back.
And that's all for me. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.